What happens when you bring together jute rope, scrap yarn, and smidgen yarn? You get a beautiful basket, of course. This easy project is fun for every skill level. If you're a beginner, you can create with confidence and finish it without tricky counting. And if you've been crafting for a while, it's a lovely way to turn even the smallest scraps into something colorful and useful. The basket's core is jute rope, but you can easily substitute other materials such as clothesline, plastic baling twine, or even a few strands of regular yarn held together. The core helps the basket hold its shape and makes your yarn go further. Next, choose a solid color for your main color. You'll need enough to carry it from beginning to end, or if you'd like, you can use 2 or 3 solid colors to create stripes. The third component is smidgen yarn. Wondering what smidgen yarn is? It's made from small leftover bits of yarn tied together to create a brand new ball. I often group whites, off-whites, creams, soft yellows, and beiges together for a light-colored ball, then tie the bright shades together for a cheerful mix of color. I always seem to have plenty of smidgen yarn on hand, but if you don't, a variegated yarn works beautifully too. You just don't get those fun little ends tucked inside. One quick note. There's a special knot used to make smidgen yarn, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Or, if you'd like a little more detail, you can watch how to crochet the smidgen scarf. Working the solid and smidgen yarn together, form a slip knot about 30 inches from the end. Then, chain 17 using both strands of yarn tightly. Should you reach a knot in the smidgen yarn, hold the ends to the back and continue.
Now this is quite tight, but what that's going to do is give us a nice firm base for our stitches. This yarn tail goes off to that side. You don't want to use it, so keep it in your hand so you don't get it confused. Now lay your jute along the top, leaving about 4 inches in your hand. So your right hand has both the long yarn tail and the jute. Now we're going to lay the jute along the top edge of the foundation chain. And in the second chain from the hook, which is this one right here, we're going to insert our hook. Make sure the jute is on top, and so that we go under that jute to start. Pull up a loop tightly and work a single crochet. Then in our next stitch, we're going to insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 tightly. So we're working the 2 strands of yarn together as we go around the jute. We're just going to continue and work 1 single crochet around the jute until we get to the last one. Now we're in the second of the last. There. Now, there's our last one. We are going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, and work 1 single crochet, go into the very same stitch again, pull up a loop, do a second single crochet. Now, do you see how I'm holding that jute around the end? And then I'm going to do a third one, and finally a fourth one in that very same stitch, and pull it tightly. It's important to get this first row nice and tight. Now, do you see how we've begun down here and we got all the way down here? Now we curved around, and the jute is sealed in on both sides. And just the only thing that shows on the inside are the little tails from the smidgen yarn. So now we're going to come around this side. So we're going to go right into the same place where we went on the other side. It's really easy to find that spot and work a single crochet. And we're going to continue right down this side of the foundation chain. Now, as we get to the end, here's how you make the transition. Hold the jute end in the back. Also hold this yarn tail ends in the back. We don't need those. We just want to lay this along the top. We have 1 stitch in that one. Here's the other one. We need to transition going up the side of the very first chain in the group. There's 1 and 2. So that puts 4 at this end, because we had 1 in that one already, 1 over here, and 2 in this one. So now we're working in a spiral. So we're going to just lay our jute around it, and then in the next stitch, under both loops, right into both loops of the top loop. Now this is tight. We want to put 2 in this one, because each round we want to put increases 2 stitches in 1 stitch around the end. So that's 1. Now, this marks the beginning of the round, our little tail on the back. We'll just leave that there for later, because I have a thing that I do when I finish it. Okay, so I've just put 2 here. I'm going to put 2 in this one also. That's 1 and 2. So an oval usually has 3 increases on each end to keep that edge rounded. We already did 2 on this end for this round. Over on this end, we need to do 3 over here. And when we get back here, we need to do 1 more there to make 3. And then we just keep going like this. If you don't put those increases in, it will start to curl up. If you put too many increases in, it starts to flutter. And we want to make sure that at the base of our little tote or our little basket is flat. So this is important on these rows, that you add 3, maybe 4 on each end. I'll give you a warning. If you think that you could pull the jute and scoot the stitches down the edge, you're absolutely right, except it starts taking on a new shape that is controlled by the jute. You don't want the jute to control the shape. You want the jute for structure. Now I'm down on this corner, and this is easier to see because I'm going to put an increase here. That's 2 in 1 stitch, 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. Then I'm going to just do 1 in this stitch. And then in the end stitch, I'm going to put 2 going around the jute. Then I'm going to put 1 in the next one. See, I'm spreading them out. And what I like to do is I try not to put an increase over an increase on the row below. On the straight sides, you just do 1 in each of the stitches. On the ends, you do 3 increases, but you spread them out and don't put them over each other. That's easy. I'll meet you when I get a few more rounds on. And I wanted about a 12-inch wide piece, and I do. It's going to be bigger, but it takes about 3 more inches to make the curve gradually for a nice basket. There's also another thing that I'm going to do. Because the sides are going to start coming upward, I'm going to go to the inside and I'm going to finish off this little piece of jute. I fold it back down along the center little groove, and I use this end to stitch up under one side, over the jute, and then to the other side of the jute. Because all I'm doing is I'm tacking this jute down, and I'm just stitching under those stitches. And you can see it doesn't show on the right side. That can be trimmed. Then I'm going to return to this edge and do the exact same thing with the gold. This end is still my beginning of round, so I'm going to take a marker and put it on the front so it's pretty obvious. We're going to begin shaping the sides. Now, just like we shape the bottom so that it would be flat, we're going to shape the sides so they start curving upward. And there's a couple of little tricks to doing that when you're using jute or another cord as a core. All you have to do is don't do any increases. In other words, just work 1 single crochet around the jute still in each of the stitches. Now at first it won't look like it's curving much. It might start to cup a little bit. And we're going to continue around this with just one single crochet in each one of the stitches. And it doesn't matter how many stitches are on here. It's just that you want to bring this base size out so that it's a nice substantial size, but it's going to grow another inch, inch and a half. Don't pull this jute. Don't pull the core. If you pull it, you can't loosen it. You have to remove the stitches. Don't pull it. I'll meet you when I get up a couple of inches. When you reach one of these little knots in your smidgeon yarn, you want to make sure that you get those ends to the back. Now in this case, the ends want to come to the front. I just reversed the direction of the loop on my hook, and that brought it to the back. And then you hold them back here. Sometimes they just fall back there, and that's great. But when they don't, you just kind of jiggle it a little bit and make sure those knots are consistently pulled to the back. We have just reached the point where I want to change colors. So what you want to do is you want to cut your solid color, because I'm substituting this yellow, which is a very pale yellow, for the gold. And here's my special knot. You form the special knot by crossing it over and just working it an overhand knot, the first part. But instead of going behind the left-hand one, you're going to go in front of and tuck the left-hand one into the little loop that you formed, so that the same colors are on the same side, and you're going to pull it tightly. You're going to leave, 3/4 of an inch, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, or an inch, whichever you like, how long you want your little ends to be. And that has joined the next color. Watch what I do. So I'm just going to work until it goes to the other color. And see how I'm pulling that knot through? Now, in this particular knot, it might be better if I just reverse my little loop on my hook, because it puts them in the back. And all I'm going to do is just continue.
The handles are added when you get about 4 or 5 rows from your final edge. For the tote, that is about 13 inches from the beginning of row marker on the bottom edge. Follow the marker up to the top edge of the tote and mark this stitch. Then count the stitches all the way around the tote and mark the halfway point. I have 96 stitches, so the halfway marker is at 48. Your numbers may vary from mine. Then find the center 14 or 15 stitches on each side. This is where the handles will be placed. I marked the center 14 for this tote. This would make the handle big enough to fit my hand.
So I'm going to work one single crochet in each stitch along the side until I reach the first handle marker.
When you get to the first handle marker, stretch out the rope to the next marker. Work the number of skip stitches around the rope only. In this case, 14 single crochets around the rope tightly. As you can see, it is not enough to cover the rope to the next marker, so I continue to add more single crochets to cover the rope. In this case, I added an additional 5 single crochets before I reached the ending handle marker. Note how many increases you made. Then at the ending marker, continue to work one single crochet in each stitch and around the rope to the first handle marker on the other side. And simply repeat the process to form the other handle.
So here's my 19 along this edge, and I'm going to skip 14 here like on the other side. I'm going to continue all the way around until I get to the handle on the other side. Remember, I have 19 stitches up here and 14 down here. So I need to decrease 5 stitches on this upper loop so they don't gain any stitches. So I'm going to, at the very first one, I'm going to pull up a loop in the very first one, yarn over the hook, and pull up the loop in the second stitch. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on hook, yarn over, pull carefully so you make through all of the loops on the hook. That's one decrease. And so then I'm going to spread them out. So I'm going to do 5 decreases. I'm going to do one here, so I'm going to do one about here too. They don't have to be perfectly distributed, but just sort of even. So I want to do 3, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. What that yarn over does is it lifts the stitch on the back so the back looks nice and neat. And the last one will be right as I finish up the handle. Pull up a loop in the first loop, over the hook, and then into the next one. Pull up a loop, 4 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. And it's a little tricky because you're working very tightly, but there's my 5 decreases. So I'm back to my normal count when I get to the next row. And I'm going to continue around and do the other handle exactly the same way.
Once the second handle is shaped, work 1 single crochet in each stitch for 1 to 2 more rows, depending on how thick you want the handle to be. Start the edging at the beginning of row marker. Cut the jute, leaving a 2-inch tail, and tuck it to the back for finishing later. Slip stitch in the next stitch to the left to even the edge slightly, then chain 1. From this point on, we're going to be working from left to right. Working in the second stitch to the right, make a reverse single crochet by inserting the hook through both loops and pulling up a loop. Yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. Insert the hook into the next stitch to the right and pull up a loop. Again, the new loop will be to the left of the working loop. Yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook to complete the next reverse single crochet. Repeat this all the way around the top edge of the basket. The reverse single crochet creates a small twisted edge that looks a bit like a braid.
And you're going to work right up until this last stitch. Do the last stitch and then do the very first one where this chain came out of. You can cut your yarn. Give yourself a generous yarn tail. I'm probably going to leave myself 18 inches. Okay, and I'm going to pull this through.
Use the yarn tail to secure the last stitch of edging to the first. Then stitch back and forth over the jute end to bury it, just like you did at the beginning. At this point, your tote or basket is fully finished. All that remains is to enjoy your colorful handmade project. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos and events. Happy crocheting!